Okay, looks like we are going live. I'm just gonna wait a minute because sometimes there's a delay on Facebook with the live. So I'm just gonna wait until I get confirmation that the live video has started. Okay, looks like we have started. So welcome, thank you for joining me today. If you are joining me live, thank you so much. If you're watching the replay, please type replay in the comments and let me know. Today we are talking about wind down routines for sleep and why these are important, and also pitfalls to look out for and mistakes that I commonly see people making. I'm Dr. Nishi Bhopal. I'm a physician specializing in integrative psychiatry and sleep medicine, and I'm the founder of Pacific Integrative Psychiatry. We are an online mental health practice serving patients all across California and in Washington State. If you are interested in learning more, I'll put the link to our website in the comments and you can check that out. So let me know in the comments where you're joining me from and what questions you have about sleep or mental health. I'll be happy to answer them on these Facebook Lives. Okay, so let's jump in. Today we're talking about wind down routines before bed and why these are important. So let's just start with a few minutes on why it's important to have a wind down routine and what that really is. So the reason it's important to have a wind down routine is that we need a transition period from being in the awake and alert state into falling asleep. Sleep is not like an on-off switch, right? So this is the mistake that I often see people making, is that they're on the go all day, they're busy, they're going from meeting to meeting, maybe they're picking up and dropping off their kids at different places, and like you're in this like go 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 mode, and then they want to like just shut down like that and go right to sleep. And sleep does not work that way. We need a little bit of a runway to shift from our active state, so that sympathetic nervous system state, also known as the fight, flight, or freeze response. There's a little bit, of course, more nuance than that, but we need this runway to shift from that active state into our parasympathetic state, or the rest and digest state. The parasympathetic aspect of the nervous system needs to be activated in order to fall asleep. So this is where I see people making mistakes, is that they're not focusing on this relaxation state. There's too much focus on trying to fall asleep versus allowing your body to go into a state of relaxation. It might sound like a little bit of a finicky difference, but it's actually quite a big difference. So what we're doing with a wind down routine is activating that relaxation state. The other thing we're doing with a wind down routine is reinforcing our circadian rhythm, or the body clock. When your body clock is really robust and active, you have a strong circadian rhythm, your sleep cycles are also going to be more robust. Whereas if your body clock is kind of all over the place, then your sleep patterns and your sleep quality is also going to be all over the place, simply stated. So by having a wind down routine, we're sending a signal to the brain. It's like a cue to the brain that it's time to unwind. It is now time to shift from being awake to being relaxed and then falling asleep. Sometimes an analogy that I use is that sleep, like I was saying, is not an on-off switch, it's more like a dimmer switch. So having a wind down routine is like dimming the lights so that you can gradually go into a state of sleep. Now, you have to be careful as well with having a wind down routine, because another mistake that I see people making is focusing on having like a set series of things that they do in the evening in order to be able to fall asleep. And why this can become problematic is because it creates some rigidity and anxiety around sleep. So I've seen people where they're like, I have to do these like 15 different things before I go to bed, or else I'm not going to be able to fall asleep. You can see how that can actually activate the sympathetic nervous system, that sort of like little bit of a like anxious kind of state, because there's this feeling that if I don't do all of these things in this order, I'm not going to be able to fall asleep, and that's going to create anxiety and actually be counterproductive. So while it's important to have a wind down routine, it's also important to have some fluidity around this. It should be nourishing and relaxing, not like a prescriptive set of rules that you have to follow that's going to make you more anxious. The other thing is that it's going to be different if you're traveling. Like I just came back from a trip to Arizona. I live in California, so I just got back from Arizona. And so when I was visiting Arizona, I didn't have all the things that I have in my home, my everyday life, that might help me fall asleep. And so if you're traveling, or if you're, staying somewhere else outside of your normal sleeping area, if you're doing that and you don't have all of your, rigid rules in place, it's going to set you up for more anxiety. So having a bit of fluidity around this is important. So what I mean by that is you don't need to have a prescriptive set of things to do, but there are 3 main areas that I like to focus on to help establish a wind down routine. So these 3 main areas are light exposure, mental activity, and physical activity. So you can remember this by LMP: light, mental activity, physical activity. So let's unpack these. So when I talk about light exposure, what I mean by this is dimming your light exposure in the evening. So this includes your ambient light exposure. So whatever lights you have on, if you have overhead lights, it's actually really nice to switch to a floor lamp or a table lamp rather than that overhead light, which can be kind of stimulating, and then keeping those floor lamps or table lamps at a dimmer brightness. And you can even consider putting red or orange bulbs in your lamps, or putting dimmer switches on your lights. That's what we do in my house. We have dimmers on all of our lights. So dimming that light is going to send a signal to your brain that it's now time to wind down. It's also going to help promote your body's natural production of melatonin, which is produced in an environment of darkness. So that's the ambient light. And then you can also think about things like your screens. So if you're using a phone, if you're using some other device, you can dim the brightness on those devices as well, so that you're eliminating, the amount of brightness that you're exposing yourself to. And really exaggerating the darkness in the evening is going to help with your circadian rhythm and inducing that state of relaxation. The second component that I mentioned was mental activity. So what I mean by this is it's important to give your brain some time to rest in the evening and to transition before you go to bed. So you can imagine that, let's say you're working on your laptop right until you go to bed. Maybe you're checking emails, or you're working on a project, or you're responding to Slack messages, or whatever it is. That's going to stimulate your brain. And so you can see how it would be hard to go from that to then a state of relaxation and going to sleep. So there needs to be a little bit of a gap between your active brain and then your sleeping brain. This also applies to social media activity. I know for me that if I'm on social media in the evening, it's really activating and stimulating for my brain. And I know that my sleep quality just isn't as good if I don't allow myself that space before I go to sleep. So you can do things like watching a relaxing show, maybe something you've seen before that isn't too stimulating, not like a true crime, mystery or something that's gonna get you interested and gonna cause you to stay up later than you wanted to. So something a bit relaxing, kind of light, that you find relaxing, right? So it's gonna be different for everyone. I recently rediscovered Modern Family, which is such a funny show, and I kind of forgot about it, and I rediscovered it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is so cute and funny and just very relaxing, right? So something like that for you that's going to help you relax in the evening. You can also consider, doing things like Wordle. People ask me is it okay to do Wordle in the evening, or those games? I actually do those in the evening because they're not too stimulating, but be careful with games because they can start to suck you in, especially a video game or something. So just be mindful of what gets your mind activated and what you find relaxing. Reading a book is another way that you can start to calm your mind in the evening. I know some people like to do a bit of journaling or writing. Again, this is a double-edged sword because sometimes it can get you thinking about things and cause more activation of your brain. So you have to figure out what works for you to calm and relax your mind. Again, I'm going to put the caveat around this that the idea here is you're not trying to induce relaxation. Let me do this calm meditation or use the Headspace app and do this, and oh my God, it's not working because my mind isn't relaxed, right? That's not the mindset that we want to be in. It's really about doing something that you find relaxing and not trying to force it. Okay, the P was for physical activity. So here we want to wind down the body. What this means is that it's not the time to be doing vigorous workouts. This is not the time to go to the gym where the lights are on really bright and you're doing a really hard workout. You want to stop that at least an hour before you go to bed. Some light physical activity is okay. So doing things like light stretching, maybe some evening yoga, restorative yoga, that type of thing can be quite helpful. And really just sending that signal to your body that, okay, this is now time to calm down. It's not the time to go for a run or anything like that. I also know for myself that doing things around the house that involve physical activity, like ironing, folding laundry, doing the dishes, this kind of stuff for me is activating. And I know that it actually makes it harder for me to go to sleep if I do those things right before bed. That may be different for you. So really start to tune into your body and notice what helps you relax versus what helps you or what makes you feel activated. So to recap, those were those 3 areas to focus on: light, mental activity, and physical activity. Now, the next thing that I recommend for your wind down routine is to actually create a bedtime menu for yourself. So you can write down like maybe 7 to 10 different things, or maybe put like 3 or 4 things under each of these categories: the light, mental activity, and physical activity. And then you have this whole menu of things to choose from, so that if you're traveling or if your schedule, your routine is just different that day, because I know with my work schedule, every day looks different. So I might not have the same kind of, stimulation each day and the same kind of schedule. So you can have this menu of all these different items that you can choose from, and that also takes the rigidity out of it. So maybe one day you do an Epsom salt bath in the evening with candlelight and maybe some light music, and that kind of covers all of our bases with the light, mental activity, and physical activity. Maybe there's other days where you just want to watch your show or something. So you can have this menu that you can pull from, and that way, if you're also feeling kind of stressed out, it's harder to make decisions about what to do, and then you might think, I don't know what I feel like doing today. You have this menu of things that you can pull from, and it takes the decision making out of it as well. So hopefully that was helpful. That was all about wind down routines. If anything was unclear, or if you want to clarify anything, just put your question or comments below this video, and I'll be happy to answer them. And again, if there's other topics you want me to discuss, we can look at those in future videos. Stay tuned for my sleep optimization workshop, which we'll be doing at Pacific Integrative Psychiatry in a few weeks. So I'll be sharing more about that as we iron out the details. Stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, go ahead and follow this page. And if you found this video helpful, please share it with anyone in your life who would benefit from this information. I will be going live again next week. So I will say bye for now.